Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnanam Jana Shalakaya Chakshuramitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahya Dadati Svapadantikam Vancha Kalpa Trubhasya Vipasandubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatayane. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adigaur Bhaktabinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita Yatharupa Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Nitaya Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. So again, thank you all so very much for inviting me to share about chapter 7, verses 5 through 7. And with all of your blessings and the blessings of Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, my spiritual master, like that, I will speak however I'm allowed to speak by them, by you all. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So chapter 7, I'm going to introduce chapter 7 because this is such an important chapter in the 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. As you may know, and I'm sure you've heard this many times, Bhagavad Gita can be divided into 3 parts. Chapters 1 through 6 is the first part. Chapters 7 through 12 is the second, and then 13 through 18 is the third. The first 6 and the last 6 chapters are like the bookends to the middle 6 chapters. The most important chapters are sitting in the middle. The first 6 chapters deal with Karma Yoga. The last 6 chapters deal with Jnana Yoga. And the middle 6 chapters deal with Bhakti Yoga. By the way, am I loud enough, or should I go louder? Or
it's perfect, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you very much. So, in the Vedas, it is said that whatever starts anything will account for 50% of the success of whatever is going to follow. In the Western world, we hear these statements, all's well that ends well. You might say the Vedas are a little different in the approach, all's well that starts well. So this is the first of the 6 chapters in the middle, which deals with Bhakti Yoga. And therefore, in some ways, will create 50% of the success of the full 6 chapters. Sometimes we give a lot of emphasis to other chapters, but this is a very, very important chapter, 7th chapter. In this 7th chapter, Krishna establishes himself as the supreme absolute truth, as the supreme personality of Godhead. And there is no knowledge higher than this. He actually proves it in this chapter. Because as you know, on the battlefield, Arjuna was a little doubtful as to whether he should fight the war. And Krishna wanted to convince him that the right thing to do was to battle. It was to reinstate karma. So he actually spoke to Arjuna in such a way that no matter what angle Arjuna would consider his decision at, because we all make our decisions based on certain angle of vision, certain angle of understanding. So Krishna is very smart. He knows that his living entities, they're very intelligent, and they will look at different angles, and they may consider a decision based on an angle that may not have been the very best angle. But nonetheless, it is real to the person who is actually making the decision. So in chapter 7, Krishna actually shows why we have to understand that he is the source of everything. He is the cause of everything. It is because of him that anything exists or happens. And there is nothing more important than him. And he is so important that even though we are controllers, we are all mini Ishwaras, mini controllers. We control different things in our lives. Sometimes you even control other people. If you become like a leader or a boss, you may control other people as well. But he gives a very, very amazing definition of who is a controller and when can you be considered a controller? When can you be considered a leader? When can you be considered a person who is worth following, who is worth listening to? And in many of our cases, of course, we are parents. We like our children to listen to us. And then when we have grandchildren, we want the grandchildren to listen to the children like that. But here in this verse, in this chapter, Krishna makes things very clear to us how to do things properly. So he starts off in chapter 7 by having us understand that religion without philosophy is simply sentiment. There has to be some reasoning behind what we do. There has to be some intellectual approach to whatever we do in our life. Like, say, for example, if I want to consider who my mother is, or who my father is, if I want to consider who my father is, then yes, I can look around and see who's behaving like what, and who's behaving more like a father, and then decide, okay, that's my father. But that is not going to be a very good way of making decisions. To make the correct decision, I have to actually, and if I do know who my mother is, then I ask my mother, and she will be able to tell me. In any moral family, she will be able to tell me who the father is. So then this authority is very necessary. This type of higher authority is very necessary. If we give another simple example, if you want to watch television and you want to know what program is coming up at what time, you refer to the program guide. So the guide tells you from this time to this time, this is going to happen on television. So then when you're watching that program, you know that that is what that program is about. Without the guide, you may watch the program and you make a decision as to what the program is about. Your decision likely is not going to be correct because there have been so many things happening in that program. So we always need this authority. So Krishna wanted to make sure that there were some philosophical truths that Arjuna understood, and through Arjuna, we understand. Why? To instill confidence and conviction in the process of bhakti yoga, to give conviction. Otherwise, people will think bhakti yoga is for those who cannot do karma yoga, who cannot do jnana yoga. For them, bhakti yoga is there. And we can see in this world, many people think like that people become devotees because they failed in material life. They can't do well in material life, so let's do bhakti, right? Bhakti is simple. All you need to do is put your hand in the bead bag and chant Hare Krishna, right? And you have to follow your boss, your authority, who tells you what to do. You don't have to think. So it's very easy. You can be a very lazy person. I remember one time when I was in Fiji, I have a wonderful godbrother, and very hardworking godbrother. He ran a business. So when our spiritual master came into town, he took time off and spent some time, like 3 days, with the spiritual master. And so after lunch, he was relaxing. And he said, because it was very enjoyable. The process of Krishna consciousness is very enjoyable. So, chanting, feasting, dancing, this is all very, very enjoyable activity. So after about a day and a half being in the program and not doing any work and just doing full-time Krishna consciousness, he said to us, actually, this is much better. This bhakti yoga is so easy, much better than me working hard like a donkey in my business. I think I should retire and become a full-time devotee because this is much easier than working. So this is typical opinion of people, that Krishna consciousness is very easy. Actually, Krishna consciousness is not easy because there are many rules and regulations, like you have to avoid the 10 offenses when chanting. You have to chant attentively. You have to follow authority, even though you may not agree with the authority. So many things. If you live your life in Krishna consciousness, even Prabhupada said, Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is not easy, but it is simple for the simple-hearted. We have to be very simple-hearted. We can't get too complex in our analysis. Otherwise, we get into paralysis. So here, Krishna knows that. And he knows that people will in the future say, even then people were saying that this bhakti is for those who cannot be materially successful. And Krishna wanted to prove it's just the other way around. It's the opposite. Actually, bhakti is based on philosophical truths followed by experience that actually shows that these truths are correct. So in the first 3 verses, Krishna is really referring to modern thinkers who they like to prove things empirically, rejecting anything that cannot be directly perceived by the senses. So while this might sound logical, objective, rational, it has some limitations. I just said the limitation is just by seeing, you cannot tell everything about something. You have to know the intelligence behind it, the understanding behind it, right? Like, say, for example, just by saying the sun planet, you cannot understand the sun planet. But if you understand that the sun planet is the source of heat, is the source of light, and it is so big, and it is so far away, and especially in the Vedas, that it has a personality. There's a person who is known as Suryadev, and that's Suryadev was the worshipable deity of Radharani, and things like that. When you learn more about the sun planet, now we understand the sun planet better. And the more we understand about the sun planet from an intellectual point of view and a experiential point of view, you have a complete understanding of something. So going back to the example of who is the father, what is the program that's happening on television, we can see that we need high authorities to understand universal realities. So this is like a descending path of knowledge. So now we're going to deal with our 3 chapters, our 3 verses. And in these 3 verses, Krishna is trying to establish that even though we do not see God, we do not see him in all of the things that are happening around him, he is explaining that just like a nice set of pearls, we have a very nice pearl necklace. You see the pearls, but you do not see the string that is keeping those pearls together. So a person who is not very observant may think there is no string there, it's just pearls. There's no string. But for a person who is a little knowledgeable knows, actually there's a very fine string that goes through these pearls and holds these pearls together. And if the string was not there, there would be no necklace. So similarly, Krishna is explaining that all of the creation and maintenance, sustenance of the entire universe is there. But the design behind it, that the fact that Krishna designed it, created it, and sustains it, that is invisible to the immature observer. The creation is extremely intricate and sophisticated. However, it naturally indicates a higher intelligence. We can see that. The sun rises at a certain time. Water is H2O. It's scientific. There's a high intelligence behind things that are happening. And so Krishna explains that he is the essence of everything within the creation. He is the taste of the water. That'll go on past verse 7. He is the light of the sun, ability in man. In this way, through the eyes of knowledge, one can learn to see Krishna everywhere. So I'm now going to go through verse by verse. And just before I do that, just make a few more statements that this chapter explains that knowing that Krishna is all in all. This knowledge of knowing, where there is nothing further to know, is actually the fact that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To understand his supremacy and to understand his transcendental nature. Krishna is telling us here that his external and about his external and marginal energies, that Krishna is actually the origin of everything. And in giving the example of the pearls, that they are strung on a thread, and the fact that he is the seed-giving father, still he is considered independent. He is still considered independent. So he is really the ultimate controller. This is what he's impressing on us. So in verse number 5, chapter 7, Krishna is saying, Aparayam itaspu anyang prakritim viddhi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho yedam dharete jagat. He says, besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. So in the purport, I hope you've read the purports yourself, but I'm going to speak about some parts of the purport. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, the cosmic manifestation has no power to act, unless it is moved by a superior energy, the living entity. That living entity is the superior energy that actually moves. And therefore, the cosmic manifestation looks like it is moving. Energies are always controlled by the energetic. And as we know, Radharani is the energy and Krishna is the energetic. And therefore, the living entities are always controlled by the Lord, because the Lord is energetic. They have no independent existence. Living entities cannot exist without Krishna. It's not possible. Krishna is the cause of the existence of living entities, and the living entities are the ones that are moving dull material nature, and that's the cosmos happening. That's the cosmic manifestation happening. So we can see the role of Krishna by this method. So sometimes the impersonalists who they make they say there is no distinction between the living entities and the Lord. But here, Prabhupada quotes in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapter 87, verse 30, you see the quote there. He says, O Supreme Eternal, if the embodied living entities were eternal and all-pervading like you, then they would not be under your control. So if we were eternal and all-pervading, we are eternal, but we are not all-pervading. But Krishna is eternal and all-pervading. Therefore, he is the controller, the supreme controller. But if the living entities are now accepted as minute energies of your lordship, then they are at once subject to your supreme control. Therefore, and this is a very beautiful part that we should learn, therefore, real liberation entails surrender by the living entities to your control, O Krishna. And that surrender will make them happy. In that constitutional position only, they can be controllers. So here's the definition of a controller. A controller is one who is surrendered to the control of Krishna and considers their position that they are controlled by Krishna to be their constitutional position. That's their true reality. They accept that as the true reality. Then they also become controllers. Now, if you think about it, this is very true. If you take your phone, right, and you want to control the phone, okay, how do you control the phone? You press certain numbers and you hope that it will call a certain person, right? The pressing of the certain numbers was already decided by who? By some other authority, right? You did not decide that my friend's number is going to be these 10 digits. You didn't decide that. That was already decided by somebody who's a high authority, right? So your phone only works, your call only works because you're following high authority. If you say, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to accept your designated number for my friend, I'm going to create my own number, and then you hit that number on the dial, what will happen? It'll call somebody else, right? Or maybe not call anybody. And you will keep getting mad, and you'll think, but I am the controller. Why is this phone not behaving like I want it to behave? Well, I'm sorry, you are the controller, but you are not the supreme controller. You have to act according to the supreme controller. So this is why this chapter is so important. See, when we understand this, then we become peaceful. Then it is not our job to control this world and to run this world. It's very hard to run the world. I've been a temple president now 24 years in Dallas. And the day I became temple president, if you look at my photograph, you'll see I had jet black hair, full head, jet black hair, In fact, someone saw the photograph the other day, and they said that was my son's photograph. It wasn't mine, it was my son's photograph. I told them, no, but that's me. They said, no, that's not you, that's your son. In 24 years, because it's not easy being temple president, not only did my hair go from black to gray and white, but I also lost so much of it that now I'm considered bald-headed. And that's just to look after a small organization, a small temple. I mean, it's relatively small compared to the Dwapar Yuga and other yugas when the temples were much bigger, right? It's still quite a lot. From ISKCON's going to be a large temple. We look after 15,000 families from this temple. It covers the whole of North Texas, so it's quite a large area that we cover. So in that sense, it's still very small. It's not 8 billion, 400 million people that this planet is. And there are many planets. So Brahma is controlling something much, much bigger than that, right? But whatever Brahma is controlling is also nothing compared to what Krishna is controlling, right? Krishna is controlling the whole creation. There are billions of universes. Brahma is only controlling one universe. There are billions of universes. And that's just the material world. Then the spiritual world is much bigger than the material world, and Krishna is controlling everything. So it makes sense for us that first things first, we should completely accept Krishna's authority. We should completely become dependent on Krishna. That Krishna will guide us. He will let us know through the systems that he puts in place, through the spiritual master, through devotees, through other people. He guides us. And then if we do what is our duty, everything will be first class. There will be no problems. And if there are any problems, it is so that we get trained up how to look after problems so we can train others. How can they look after their problems? In business, it is said that any problem that you faced in your life is your pot of gold. Why? Because now you can help others solve that problem just like how you solved the problem, right? And they will pay you to solve the problem rather than reinvent the wheel and solve the problem over so many years. In my 70 years, I actually started teaching at the age of 6. That was the first year when I started teaching. Just so happened in school, certain things happened, I had to start teaching. So now, in my 64 years of being a teacher and a leader, what I have learned, if I knew that at age 20, my life would have been far better. You see what I'm saying? So in a sense, the 50 years after I turned 20 till now has taught me so much that if I knew that at 20, I would be a far better off person today. How much would that be worth? It would be worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. I don't have to charge millions of dollars. If I charge $1,000 per person to let them know the methodology, so they can skip 50 years of experience, right? They can learn 50 years of experience from a person who already experienced it. It saves them that time. Now they can actually go further, right? Because they are young. So the problems in our lives are actually our pots of gold. Not that we should think, why do I have problems in my life? It's so miserable when I have problems in my life. Yes, a problem will be a little miserable, but you will solve it and then no longer be that misery because you solve the problem. You see? So here Krishna is saying the process is accept Krishna as the supreme controller, and then we can move on in a way that will really be very beneficial to us. Then he says, while exploiting the gross and subtle inferior energy or matter, which is what we're doing, the superior energy, which is the living entity, is us, we forget our real spiritual mind and intelligence. This forgetfulness is due to influence of matter upon us. But when we become free from the influence of illusory material energy, we attain mukti or liberation. Therefore, one may conclude that the Bhagavad Gita confirms the living entity to be only one of the multi-energies of Krishna. And when this energy is freed from material contamination, it becomes fully Krishna conscious or liberal, or liberated. Then in the next verse, in the purport, Prabhupada says, everything that exists is a product of matter and spirit. Spirit is the basic field of creation, and matter is created by spirit. The material body is developed because spirit is present within the matter. A child grows gradually to boyhood and then to manhood because of that spirit, superior energy, the spirit soul. It is present there. Similarly, the entire cosmic manifestation of the gigantic universe is developed because of the presence of the supersoul, Vishnu. A fragmental part and parcel of the Lord, namely the living entity, which is us, may be the cause of a big skyscraper, or big factory, or even a big city, but he cannot be the cause of a big universe. The cause of the big universe is the big soul, or the super soul. And Krishna, the Supreme, is the cause of both the big and small souls. He is the cause of even the super soul. So, therefore, he is the original cause of all causes. This is confirmed in the Katha Upanishad 2:13. Nityu Nityanam Chetanas Chetanana. And then, in the final verse, this one I'm going to read the translation. He says, O conqueror of wealth. Well, I'll do the Sanskrit here as well. Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchit asti dhananjaya mayi sarvam idam protam sutrime mani gana iva. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Mark these actual 6 words, are very important words. There is no truth superior to Krishna. Everything rests upon Krishna as pearls are strung on a thread. In the purport, Prabhupada says, there is a common controversy whether the supreme absolute truth is personal or impersonal. As far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, the absolute truth is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and this is confirmed in every step in the Bhagavad Gita. And here, you can see, there is no truth, including impersonal truth. There is no truth superior to me. So even impersonal truth is not superior to Krishna. Neither is personal truth superior to Krishna, nor is impersonal truth superior to Krishna. Actually, nothing is superior to Krishna. And Krishna is superior to everything. This is why this chapter is so very, very important. Prabhupada says it is all about 4 words. 4 words. He says, 3 words. He says it's all about 3 words. I always think of another thing, which is the 4 syllables, which are called the syllables of magic. But here, I'm talking about what Srila Prabhupada said is the most. He said it's all about 3 words. Are you convinced? What are you convinced? That Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. We have to be convinced about that. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, the statement is made, Yo mam evam asamudo janati purushottamam sasarvavid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. One who knows Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, comma, without doubting, comma, is the knower of everything, period. Such a person always engages in the loving devotional service of Krishna with all of his or her heart and soul. This is Krishna. Krishna is everything. One who knows Krishna as everything. He's a know of everything. So here in this verse, Krishna is establishing this fact very clearly. In the rest of the purport, Prabhupada gives verse after verse to prove this point, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the cause of all causes. And to know him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to know what that means, that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that he is the ultimate controller, and that if you want to be happy, then you have to surrender to that ultimate controller. And this surrender is not the surrender of like employees in this world for their employer or workers for their boss, like that. It's not that type of surrender. This is a surrender of love. Krishna consciousness is actually love parading as a philosophy. So this is a surrender of love. Our service is an expression of love for Krishna. Any service that we do has to be an expression of love. And because it is an expression of love, it is joyfully performed. And Krishna says, I do not accept any service that is not joyfully performed. And what is Krishna consciousness? Krishna consciousness is chanting, feasting, and dancing. And all three are celebrations, and all three are pure ecstasy. Hare Krishna. I'm going to stop here and ask if you'd like to say something or any questions.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for our entire lecture. You gave very, very nicely, Prabhuji. All the lectures, you are so inspiring. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for everything. Amit Prabhu, you want to share something? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Tanvat Pranam.
Prabhuji.
Yeah, so Prabhuji, the class was very wonderful, and like it gives immense interest about the Krishna. Prabhuji, I have one quick question, that you are talking about some spirit and one more word you used. So what was that?
Spirit, soul.
A spirit and one more word you used, and then between the relationship something.
Between material energy and the spirit.
Right. So Prabhuji, can you please elaborate this with an example?
Yes. So basically, this world is a combination of two things, spirit and the material energy, right? Like,
Correct.
Say, for example, we are a combination of our soul in our heart, right? In the middle is the spiritual heart. Now, left side is the physical heart, which pumps the blood. But in the center is our spiritual heart, where there are two souls are sitting, right? Atma and Paramatma, right?
Right.
So the Atma is the spirit.
Okay.
But the body is material energy, right?
Right.
It is made of earth, water, fire, air, ether.
5 things, yeah.
So this is material energy, right?
Okay.
So the person is a combination of material energy and spirit?
Both.
Yes. So creation is the same.
Okay.
Everything in creation is a combination of spirit and material energy. Like, say, for example, if you take a germ, right? Okay, a germ has a body. It's a subtle body, so you can't see it. It's not subtle, but it's almost subtle. So you have to look underneath a microscope, right, to see a germ.
Right.
But inside that germ is Atma and Paramatma, and therefore that germ is alive. You see what I'm saying? Now, technically speaking, nothing is dead. The reason is that everything is still an atom, right? Even though it doesn't seem to have a life. Like, say, for example, you might be sitting near a table, right? So the table is inert matter, we say, right? It is.
Right.
It's not moving. It's not alive, right? It's considered like dead matter.
Yeah, basically it is inactive thing.
It's inactive, yeah. But that table is made of many, many atoms, right?
Right.
And inside any atom is also soul and supersoul.
Okay.
But technically speaking, even the table is actually alive.
Yeah.
That is why in Vedic understanding, they say you should treat everything with a lot of respect. Like, for example, don't slam a door, don't stomp on the floor. They say be respectful, right? Close the door nicely. Even in English, there's a saying, a bad workman quarrels with his tools, right?
Right.
So we understand we do not quarrel with anything, not even a thing, right? If
Right,
my
right.
phone is not working, I don't bang my phone on the table and get mad at my phone. See?
Correct.
I think to myself, there must be something that must need correction, and I'll go and either correct it myself, or if I can't correct it, I'll ask somebody who knows how to correct. The phone will start working again, right?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. And it shows your good behavior or etiquettes also.
Actually, it shows your character now, you see. That's very important. Because life is about achar and prachar.
Prachar, right.
So achar is very important. Now, how we behave is very important. And then, of course, how we relate with others, that is prachar, is also
Correct.
very important.
Correct. And we can set the examples from that only.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for a very intelligent question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, do you have a time for a question answer?
Yeah, you can as much as you want. I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Over to you, Pradyumna Prabhuji. Hari bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare bol, Hare Krishna, Nityananda Das Prabhu ki jai ho. Jai ho.
So nice to see
Very
you
nice,
again.
Prabhuji. Really, I enjoy your class. It's very nectarian and very nicely you have explained, Prabhuji. Very nice. Prabhuji, really enjoy it. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. I thought you had a question.
No.
No, for Anumodan.
Thank you for that. It's actually you're just reflecting your good character on me. That's all it is.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So, devotees, if you have any question and answer, please raise your hand and feel free to ask to Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. If anybody have any question, any realization, so please raise your hand and
Yes,
feel free
please.
to ask.
Realizations are very important.
Unmute yourself and
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very
Hare
much
Krishna.
for the explanation in the class.
Hare
So, Prabhu, I just wanted to reflect on, I just wanted to share what I learned.
Yes.
That how you said that on like verse 5, like how Krishna is like all supreme, like how you gave the example of if we go to like the phone and we want to dial the person's phone number, it's like we're the controller, you think you're the controller, but the supreme controller, you're not the supreme controller. So can't think that you're the controller only, everything has to work according to you. Which also goes applies in the material world, because nothing can go according to you, not everything can go according to you. You have to like form yourself to other things too.
Yes, that's so true. So
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Thank you for that. Yeah, it's such a simple understanding, and yet it's so profound, It's so profound. But then we understand, if we follow the correct methodology, then amazing things will happen. If they're not happening, it's probably because either I'm not following, or Krishna is allowing me to learn some difficulty so that others who will face that difficulty can also be helped by me, because I've learned how to do it, right? Then I can help them. I'll give you a small example in my own case. When I was a young boy, my father wanted me to be part of the military. So I joined the military and went to the army to get training. And I hated it so much. 3 times I tried to escape camp, and all 3 times they caught me, and all 3 times they gave me really bad punishment. And I came out of military training with 2 things: ulcers and this sickness. I forget the name of the sickness now, but where your eyes start going yellow and things like that. So really, really bad sickness. I had very bad sickness, and I also had ulcers, very, very bad ulcers. So bad, I had to take, whenever I ate food, I had to take it out from my mouth as well, because there's no way the food would pass through the body. This is how much difficulty I went through at that time. And I thought to myself, it would be better to die than to get military training, right? And then later on in life, when I started facing difficulties, I didn't see that as a difficulty, because I'd gone through such intense difficulty that later on in life, when I went through difficulties, I thought they were nothing compared to what I went through earlier. You see what I'm saying? So in a sense, Krishna trained me up, in that time, because younger, it's easier to get trained, right? It's very hard to train. They say it's hard to teach old dog new tricks, So now I'm an old dog. But at that time, I was a young dog, And so Krishna decided to give me some training at that time. But today, I thank my lucky stars that I went through that training. because that has really helped me deal with difficulties and not feel its difficulty and go through life much more easily than I would have had not had that training. So when we go through difficulties, if we see that as training, always know there is somebody who knows more than you. So ask that person to help you out. Recently, about 2 weeks ago, I really felt very badly sick again. So all I had to do was call my doctor. I said to my doctor, I'm really sick. What do I do? He said, take this medication. He gave me a medication. And he said, I want you to stay in bed for 3 days and take this medication. And I did exactly what he told me, and I was fine. Had I not done that, and I tried to figure out on my own this method, that method, that method, that method, I'd probably still be sick today. And I'd be very unhappy about the fact that I'm sick. Whereas this way, what happened, those 3 days I had off, which unfortunately was Janmashtami day, Prabhupada's appearance day, and the next day. These 3 days, I felt sick. So I couldn't attend Janmashtami, I couldn't attend Vyas Puja and the day after Vyas Puja. But I was able to rest. Those 3 days were rest days for me. So Krishna wanted me to rest or something. So he took out and on his day, he made me rest on his day, which is not the day I want to rest. This is Krishna, how kind he is, right? He's thinking about me when I should be thinking about him. He's thinking about me. So, and I'm not saying Krishna thinks about me. I saw it that way, that he's like a loving father. He's like a person who loves us all, and he always cares for us all. Even the difficulty he gives us is for some good for us. And if we see it that way, and we always take the help of those around us, very humbly take help from others, not feel too proud, no, I can't take help. Then things will work out. Things will work out very nicely. And now, when somebody else goes through the problem, I can tell them, okay, do this, talk to the doctor, deal with it like this, you'll be fine in 3 days. They feel good. Oh, wow, we found a solution. And they thank me. They think I actually solved the problem. I actually did not solve the problem. I solved the problem because Krishna gave me the problem first, and then it got solved, and I saw how it was solved. So then I can tell somebody else, we solved it like this, right? And this is true for everything in life. So, as devotees, we should never be unhappy. We should always be happy. No matter how much difficulty we go through, keep smiling. Just keep smiling and walk through the problem, and you will be fine. And others will be. They love you so much because you gave them good information that helped them in their life. And life is about serving others. Because when you serve others, your results will multiply. Otherwise, your karma is your karma. You'll get 1x, whatever that karma is. But if you help 5 people, you get 5x. If you help 10 people, you get 10x. Even 2x is good, right? So at least help one more person in your life like that. Things really work out very nicely.
Hari Bol. So how's your health now, Prabhuji?
Health is good. It's getting better. It's getting better.
Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So if anybody have any question, Bhakti Baba Mataji, Ritu Mataji, or anybody have any question, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask to Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, one just realization, Prabhu, whenever we heard your lecture is really, really very amazing. And you already know, Prabhuji, Partsarthi Foundation, the base is the Hindi lectures, Prabhuji, because several devotees doesn't know, understand for the English. So, Prabhuji, are you able to do some spiritual or some good type of the lecture in our morning time in Hindi, Prabhuji? Is it possible, Prabhu?
It is possible. My Hindi is Fiji's Hindi. Those who know I come from Fiji.
So that is perfectly fine.
From India, Hindi, And so it's because of that, I generally prefer not to give Hindi classes because, people laugh a lot when I give Hindi class because the words I use are funny words, and it's because that's the way we speak in Fiji, Like in Hindi, we say, aap kya kar rahe hain, right? So in Fiji, we say, tum kaun si karta. So you can imagine if I give my class like that, in Fiji, people will love it because they know what I'm saying and they understand what I'm saying and they're fine. But I have given classes in India, by the way, in Hindi. Okay? Yes, with Fiji Hindi. And people are rolling on the ground and laughing. And they're so happy that at least a pracharak can actually create a comedy, It's like, that's good comedy.
Okay, Prabhuji, so I can talk to Harila Prabhuji, so we can schedule some time because on the occasion of the Srila Prabhupada Appearance Day, so Her Grace Devi Shakti Mataji from the Vrindavan. She gives the Hindi lecture for us, Prabhuji.
Yeah, that's
So,
very nice. So there are a lot of
Prabhuji,
nice Hindi speakers, so I think let them speak, it's better.
Prabhuji, we really need your association because today I read your introduction. So there are so many things we have to learn with your divine mouth, Prabhuji. So
I don't know about my divine mouth. My mouth is certainly not divine. But I don't mind speaking once in a while. And
okay.
but I will at the beginning of the lecture make it very clear that my Hindi is Fiji Hindi, and so please don't mind if I use some words. And sometimes I get a little stuck for the word because in Fiji we're more simple-hearted people, so we don't have like drishtikon or words like
प्रभु जी इतना शुद्ध हिंदी का
that type of thing. So
नहीं प्रभु जी इतना शुद्ध हिंदी का जरूरत नहीं है इंग्लिश भी चलेगा इंग्लिश मिक्स भी चलेगा
समझने की बात है जैसे हम बात करते हैं हिंदी में तो अगर जो लोग समझ सकते हैं मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ तो वही हमारे लिए आवश्यक है कि उसका जो क्या बोलते हैं उसका जो ग्रामर जो है और ये सब जो है वो इतना आवश्यक नहीं है जितना समझने का आवश्यकता है जैसे हम जब समझ जाते हैं तो हम अमल कर सकते हैं हमारा जो कृष्ण भावना है वो हम अमल कर सकते हैं वो अमल करने से क्या होता है कि हमारे जीव को आनंद बहुत मिलती है और जब आनंद मिलती है तब हम प्रेम से कृष्ण को सेवा कर सकते हैं और जब प्रेम से कृष्ण की सेवा करते हैं तो उसको बहुत आनंद मिलती है और कृष्ण को आनंद देना हमारा जीवन का लक्ष्य है ये हमारे जीवन का मतलब है अब हमारा हिंदी ऐसा होता है
अरे वो प्रभु जी बहुत बढ़िया हिंदी है
I don't know about Pariya Hindi, but you can see sometimes I put English words in there, this, that, and the other. But somehow I'm able to convey the message. That's the main thing.
Yes, Prabhuji. The main thing we have to learn the message, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
So, okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, as of now, there is no more hand raised. So, everybody has cleared today's session, Prabhu. So, if you allow, so we have to wind up or you want...
Please do. Yes, okay. Thank you so very much.
So much, Prabhuji. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Nanda Prabhuji ki jai. Vancha kalpataru vrishya kapasindhu
evacha patitanam pavanebhyo
Vaishnavibhyo namo namo
Vaishnava vrinda ki jai.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for amazing.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.